Welcome, everyone, to the Dr. Ginny Show. I'm here with Lisa Pagotto, who is joining us from Australia. Yay! Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
I'm going to dive right into this because I cannot wait to learn more about you, what you've been up to, what your framework is. And I know everybody who listened to us on the Dr. Ginny Show is a life learner, number one. So they're going to be super excited to hear about our conversation today. So as we get started, can you share with our audience, Lisa, why they should listen to us for the next 15 to 25 minutes?
There's a couple of reasons. It's not just one reason. For listeners, there's going to be some incredible stories and journeys, many that are just like a what the kind of moment, but also bringing that to real life, bringing that into context for the everyday person to be able to have some takeaways that you can take into your own world to make even just a small difference in terms of the way that you lead, the way that you look at barriers, opportunities, and just how to take that next step.
What is your story? How did you get here? Catch us up.
Yeah, sure. So my story, wow, we probably don't have long enough, but I will do the best that I can to compress it. So I work in the travel and tourism industry. I've been in this industry for 24 years. I've had my own business for 12 of those years. And throughout my journey as a young female business owner, there have been every possible hurdle thrown at me, from people telling me that I don't know what I'm doing, to people saying like, you're insane. I sold my house to start my business when, there was really no concept that there was a market for what I do, but I believed in my vision so much. Well, in Australia, we call it tall poppy syndrome, where other people try and cut you down because you're successful. I've dealt with that. Travel and tourism, having a business in that space through the pandemic. So building a business that has gone on this growth trajectory and then losing it all, rebuilding after that. I also was on the Australian version of Shark Tank and almost lost my business through that journey. So it's just been this incredible roller coaster through that Shark Tank experience when I was literally, I can't keep going. I've got no money. I'm in this incredible debt. I had this guardian angel come out of the woodworks who just believed in me and just saved myself and my business that allowed us to keep growing. Yeah, I mean, being in one of the world's most volatile industries, you're just constantly hit with barriers, one after the other. And it's about how you lead through them, how you lead a team, how you hold yourself, how you protect yourself. And I haven't always got that wrong. I've had incredible health battles because I didn't put myself first. And so a lot of my FIRE framework is built around all of those journeys and the learnings from them that I wish that I had known before I'd gone through them myself.
The FIRE framework will apply to just about anyone who's in a leadership role because they are so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're so universal in nature. Lisa, you mentioned something about your vision. What was your vision that people say, you're crazy? What was that?
So 12 years ago when I started Crooked Compass, it was to build a business that showcased the experiential and storytelling side of travel. And 12 years ago, that wasn't a thing, not here in the Australian market. And experiential travel was just like, you're crazy. Everybody just does the same
experiential
thing.
travel?
We all get on. Experiential travel was going to destinations that are a little bit more frontier, quite emerging, a little bit controversial, a bit stigmatized, and using travel as a tool of education. So it was really there for people who were very well educated, looking for that what's new and what's next, who wanted to go to your more truly adventurous destinations, but not do it as a backpacker. They wanted to do it in comfort with a certain level of luxe where possible. But what they really wanted was purpose over scale. And so what we do, my business will never be a $50 million business because that's not what we're about. We don't want a departure every Tuesday. We want to know that what we are doing is small, but it is impactful. And that is why people choose to travel with us. And so trying to tell someone that that's your business idea when I was in my 20s, people thought that I was insane to sell my house to be able to back something like this and to build it. And now I just go, well, here we are. So look at what we've created, look at the network of travelers that we have all over the world, and look at the communities that we've supported. It was, me backing myself from the very beginning when there was no proof that this
So
was even
you're
a
a
thing.
trailblazer is what I think you're telling us. What's one misconception people have about your industry that you want to debunk?
My industry, people think that it's the easiest job in the world. I mean, the front facing side of it is beautiful. We get amazing travel opportunities. We get to explore the world. We get paid to do it. But the misconception is that it's simple. And I totally appreciate in this world of AI and even before AI, yes, people can Google things. You can book hotels online. You can do airfares online, and you can do a lot of it yourself. But if I look at specifically my business and what we do, to get permits into diminishing or fading cultures and tribes, which you can only get if you're providing external assistance outside of tourism. You can't do that on your own. You can't even find these people. You know, we have one community that we work with in the remotes of Mongolia that take 5 days of overland travel just to access, including four-wheel drives where there are no roads and horseback to reach them. And they are only accessible by permits. And we are the only company in Australia to hold those permits. And that is because of what we do outside of our tourism scope, which we may or may not have time to talk about. But that is the type of stuff that you cannot find on Google. To be able to stay in a teepee with a reindeer tribe, it's just
No,
not a thing that you can throw into AI and figure it out. And that is the beauty of what we do, but it is also lost because people just see beautiful pictures, National Geographic, Condé Nast, whatever it might be, and they find a version of
that's
that and
right.
think that it's the same. And I guess the other big misconception is a lot of people are hung up on price. So we are a premium product. But what comes with that is some of our products take 2.5 to 3 years to actually build because of red tape, because of government permissions for where we want to go, what we want to achieve. And people don't see that. They don't see that. We don't actively talk about it. We probably should. I mean, it could be an interesting marketing angle. Um, but when our travelers hear about that, they understand the true value and the exclusivity, and that plays to their ego of wanting that exclusivity, of wanting those dinner party stories, of wanting to be the first people to do something. And yeah, it has a flow on effect. What we do is not just to provide an incredible experience for our guests, but more so it's to support the communities that should see travel as a positive and not as a negative, because there's a very fine line in the tourism industry. And that is also often misconstrued. We all hear the words about over tourism, but not all tourism is like that.
So,
Okay.
one of the things I want to do, Lisa, is I want to ask you because you're working with people and taking them on these amazing experiences, immediately what comes to mind for me is wow, our clients are really hardworking. They're high performing, they're high achieving, they're running companies, they're founding companies. These experiences that you talked about seem like a dream for me because I'm a traveler. Like that's, I work to travel. How's that? What
Yeah.
aspect of your business have you found that it's actually supporting the people who are taking these trips with finding meaning in life? Not just working, but also experiencing the world and just seeing things that most people won't get a chance to see.
That's a really interesting question. And if you kind of flip it to the lens of the traveler, what they're looking for, they're
Yes.
looking for stimulation because they are hardworking, they are high achievers, they are that sort of type A personality. They're looking for something to stimulate that. And so when they come away with this educational element, this wow factor, this perspective shifting moment, that's a word we use quite often. That is when we see that shift. And so they're choosing to travel with us because they know that that is literally what we focus on. We don't focus on covering every must see site and ticking a box and taking a photo. We are intentionally looking for those moments that will move and shift people who have seen everything. They are looking for that what's new and what's next.
So let's get into the fire framework and tell us about the fire framework. Like how did you create it? What inspired you to create it? And most importantly, before we dive into the details and components, how can our listeners benefit by paying attention when we talk about the fire framework?
The fire framework has been built off my little mini version of my story that I shared a few moments ago. And it's really life lessons and takeaways that I've learned that can be transferred to anybody in a leadership, entrepreneurial, or business space.
I'm going to invite everybody who's listening to us to suspend disbelief And to, as we go through each of the components of the FIRE framework, look at how that particular component fits into your life and business right now. And so let's start with,
Yes.
with the first component, which is the F in FIRE. What does that stand for? What do we do?
Yeah, sure. So F is faith before proof. So I shared my version of starting a business when there was no proof of concept, and everybody has their own version of that. An idea that they're sitting on, something that they say, I would love to be able to do that, but they don't actually take that first step. So this is about having the courage to back yourself, to truly listen to that voice. One of the big things that I've learned through my journey and also through working with other business leaders is that passion does not fail. Passion is what fuels that fire. And if you are truly, truly passionate about something, the big question is, what are you actually waiting for? Why are you holding back? Why aren't you backing yourself? Is it somebody else's voice in your head? Is it your own self confidence? What is the external factor? And does it actually matter? It is about just stopping, pausing, really breaking down. If you truly, truly want this, just take that first step. It doesn't have to be extreme like selling your house. It just has to be some sort of movement. Registering a domain name, starting to self build a website or figuring out how to do that. You don't need to have incredible amounts of money. Just start talking to people about your idea, but with passion and conviction, not
Yeah.
with hesitancy. Because everybody knows the saying, fake it till you make it. And even if you haven't created your business, you become what you portray. And so if you start talking confidently about what you want and what you can bring and this opportunity that you see, it will naturally follow. People feed off passion and people feed off energy. And so if you start having this positive energy, even if you're just in the very, very baby stages, that helps you build that confidence to truly take that first step. It's about ignoring those voices and truly backing yourself and just finding that one small thing that could literally be the way you talk about your idea that starts to shift that perspective.
A lot of the clients that I work with are in different stages or seasons of their life. And usually, what prevents people from taking that step that you mentioned is a series of limitations around how they see themselves, how they see the environment. So, these are ultimately beliefs that they have, fears in many cases, expectations, patterns that we follow through our whole life that we need to shift, because ultimately, if we are looking to create the life, the career that we want, it's going to be very hard to do if we don't let go. And I love the concept of faith before proof, because that implies, even if you're inside the company, that you take that step toward that new idea, towards that innovation, toward that new process that you've been trying to implement before you have proof that it's going to work. In other words, I'm hearing someone needs to do it for the first time. And why not you, right?
Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't have to be big. And I think that that's the biggest misconception is people think that they have to have everything mapped out. They think that it has to be perfect. They have to have the best website. They have to have everything done. And that's not the case at all.
That pattern that you just described, it must be perfect before I do anything. It's a pattern of perfectionism. Just saying, just
Yes.
in case that sounds familiar, that plagues all of us, right? We don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to have egg in our face, because if we tell people and if we start doing it and it doesn't work out, then we failed. And that points us to a fixed mindset. It's only failure
Yes.
if we didn't learn from it. So let's move on
Correct.
to, so
Correct.
now that we have the F from the FIRE framework, which is faith before proof, what does the I stand for?
The I stands for integrity. And I really feel that this is the backbone behind the whole framework because it's probably the easiest one to slip. When you are building something, you have voices, positive, negative, neutral, just comments constantly about what you're doing, how you look, how you appear, the way you present on social media. Everybody wants to have a piece. It's just human nature, unfortunately. But the integrity line is about staying true to your values no matter what. It is so easy to fall into the trap of just doing what everybody else has done because it's comfortable, because it's known, because it feels safe. And sometimes when you back your integrity and you stay aligned with what you truly, truly, truly believe in, yeah, it can be disruptive. And people don't like disruption. I mean, entrepreneurs and business owners, we thrive for it because it gets attention and it gets a reaction. And a reaction is what you want. But staying truly aligned to your values will be the number one thing that makes you succeed. Because the minute that you waver, you're not being true to yourself. It'll end up fracturing somewhere down the track, maybe not immediately, but it is about staying true to who you are, why you started what you started, and ignoring the noise that comes around that. Just staying in your lane. Don't try to be something that you're not.
because the noise is so loud. So staying true to your core values is what's going to allow you to make those decisions and also for you to feel that this is my direction, or this is the direction of the company, or this is the direction where the team is going. And I know that there's pressures, external pressures too. We have competing agendas, competing values. And so how do we continue down a path and not let everybody else's opinions and perspectives take us off of our track? So that's what I'm getting from the integrity component.
It's a really, really challenging one because there is so much distraction. But integrity in its most simplest form, even if it's a hard decision to make, but staying true to yourself, it is literally the only thing that allows you to sleep at night when you're in, a business ownership role, a leadership role. If you go against what you truly believe in, it won't sit right and it won't perform right because people can see when you're not your true self.
And what
People
have you
feed off.
seen, Lisa, is the price some of the people that you've seen pay when we veer off of that integrity path? I mean, we've seen what happens in the marketplace when companies have not had integrity. What have you noticed?
There's so many different experiences. There's all these different personalities that you see in business, and you see, I guess, that the strongest one is the personality that is not operating with integrity. The person that has their own agenda at whatever cost. They're a little bit of a shark, if I can use that word. They just want to achieve at all costs without staying truly aligned. It can be hurtful. It can be have financial implications, but they don't care. If you're looking at it as at yourself internally as someone being an integral operator, it is about, yeah, you might have to make a call that doesn't align with the rest of your team or with your boss's direction, but you staying true to yourself, it's a strength. It is not something that you can coach somebody. It is an internal choice that somebody has to make. And you will see if you are a leader and you operate with integrity, that is the number one thing why your team stay with you. Because even if you don't agree with a decision, if you are sticking with your gut and sticking with what you feel and truly believe, people will follow that. And that is where you get trust, recognition, your own personal brand, and that growth, because that is what people want. They want something where they can see transparency and they can leverage off that. They can cling to it, they can grow from it, they can learn from it. And then you, as the operator yourself, are also growing because you're seeing the support that comes from staying
Yeah.
truly integral.
Wow. So let's continue down the path of the FIRE framework. Let's say that I've finally taken the step before I have proof. And I'm showing up with integrity. I'm clear what my values are. And I'm going to pick my lane, as you say. I'm going to ignore the noise. What comes next?
The next part is resilience. And this is a very interesting one because resilience means different things to different people. For me, I used to think that resilience meant just pushing through, keep going, no matter how much is on your plate, you just have to keep going. That's what resilience is. It was around strength. And in fact, it's about the opposite. It's about knowing when to pause so that you can keep going, so that you don't burn out. I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions.
What is one of your examples of when you actually burned out, Lisa?
Yes, my examples, I've got quite a few, unfortunately, big, hard learning lessons. But one of them was during the pandemic. So, travel and tourism industry, I'd effectively had to stand down my entire team. I was running the business back by myself and there was nothing happening. Our borders were closed. So, I was juggling 4 jobs, trying to pay the mortgage. I'd just become a single mother as well. So, trying to navigate sole parenting, keep a business going, manage a mortgage. And I was just firing at all cylinders to the point where I collapsed at home one day. I had these incredible chest pains. The paramedics came and I was taken to hospital and I had 6 fractured ribs. And I hadn't been in any kind of accident or had a trauma. And what it was I had anorexia. I had stopped eating. I was 45 kilos. And because I was just go, 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 keep going, keep pushing, you've got to find a solution, my body had just given up. I had stopped eating. I just felt sick all the time because I was trying to find ways to make things work. And I just did not even remotely consider for a moment looking after myself. And so that was a very, very hard and a very long lesson to learn that all of those things I was trying to control, if I wasn't there, they can't actually function. And so for me, that lesson was knowing when to pause before you
Yes.
fall off that cliff, knowing when your body, your life, literally everything around you is saying stop and being aware of what that looks like. Yes, I was aware. I felt nauseous every day, so I chose not to eat. To me, I thought I was feeling nauseous because I was stressed. I was probably nauseous because I wasn't eating. It's a vicious cycle, but being able to recognize those feelings, and they're going to be different for everybody.
I want to ask our audience as they listen, because as I mentioned, we're all in different seasons of our lives and careers. And some of us may be in our early stage of our leadership and we feel so much pressure to deliver, to make sure that we're reliable, that people can, trust us. And we're putting everything out. And sometimes we forget that, wait, I'm human. I also need to take care of myself. So I just want to normalize for everybody who's listening that our well being is non negotiable, and that this element of resilience in the FIRE framework, I believe it's fundamental, because resilience from a place of, we've heard this so many times, putting on the oxygen mask on yourself first. But what does that look like for you? Because everyone is different. And we have really pushed the limits of what we can withstand. And we have done things like you said, Lisa, where you went without eating and you were nauseous, but you thought it was just because of something, and you didn't think that it was because you were not eating. So let's check the boxes around how's my nutrition, how's my movement, how's my sleep, how's my stress. And if we find that any of those are not well, we need to take care of it. We cannot ignore it, because it is going to come back and bite us in the bleep bleep, and it will be too late. And there's no reason why we need to go through that and put our bodies through that trauma when we don't really need to. So resilience, what I'm getting from you, Lisa, is that it isn't pushing no matter what. Resilience is actually pausing, as you called it, and being able to say, wait, what do I need in this moment? How do I recharge? How do I refuel? Because that is how we become the highest performers, when we can recover throughout the week and not deplete the entire fuel tank. Anything else to say about resilience before we move on to the E in the FIRE framework, Lisa?
I think it's honestly just about rephrasing what resilience means. It's not about pushing harder, it's about knowing when to stop. And you mentioned, I guess, specifically in the workplace, but it's also, if we all step back and have a look at the relationships in our lives, whether it's with a partner, our children, not just in the workspace, when you keep pushing yourself, it impacts those as well. And so it's also about recognizing, hang on a minute, do I have the best relationship with my child that I could be having? Am I putting work before my family? Same with my partner, just looking at every single element, not just the office, because it all combines and it all builds up.
I always say to my clients, you and who you are at home are not two separate people. It's still you. And so some of us have created this line between who you are at work and who you are at home. And ultimately, my goal is to help integrate you so that you can be as whole as you can at home and as whole as you can at work. And you don't feel disjointed and fragmented, because that takes so much mental, intellectual capacity to be playing these roles in two different places. And I'm so glad that you're bringing that perspective into our conversation today. So we talked about the 3 top components, which is faith before proof. We talked about integrity and now resilience. Take it home with our next component, Lisa.
So E is evolution over ego. And what that means is the person that you start your journey as is not necessarily the same person that you are going to be at the other end of it, and being okay with that. It's about letting go of things that you feel you need to stay attached to, but may not necessarily be relevant. It's about that evolution. And that's not necessarily about always chasing that next job title, chasing that higher paycheck. It is about literally following your own journey with intent. Sometimes you might have to soften. Sometimes it's not about being that, like, yeah, let's go team, let's go get them, being at the front and always striving and pushing and pushing. Sometimes your growth and evolution comes about stepping back and encouraging somebody else to step up, giving other people an opportunity and not feeling like it always has to be you. This is one of the big things, probably more so with entrepreneurs as opposed to leaders, but also relevant to leaders, where people feel that if they don't have the power and the control, that they're not doing their job. And the true essence of a leader is about bringing people up that are under you. It's not about how great you can make yourself look and how much you can achieve, because you've already achieved that to be in that position. It is about how you evolve in yourself to allow your own ego to settle, to be able to uplift others and to be okay with that. Because when you are lifting up others, you will still continue to learn, you will still continue to grow, because you are supporting the growth of somebody else. And that is an evolution in itself. And that can be, it sounds amazing, but it can be a real struggle for a lot of people, because they want to be in the limelight. They want to be the person that was chosen in the leadership role. And they don't naturally feel this evolution that comes with it, because nobody ever prepares you for it. And so it's more about, again, just having that reflective moment. Where am I in my leadership journey? Where do I sit? How am I behaving as a leader? Am I all about myself, or am I all about my people? And how am I helping my people grow?
What is that next evolution? I love that definition that you gave us, which is not necessarily the next role, the next title, but more like, where am I evolving as a human in my leadership? And I think you gave a beautiful example, which was when we first start, we are interested in our own growth, of course, and that never changes. I think ultimately, whether it's the title or it is that you want to continue to learn, for example, you are interested in your own growth. And when you really evolve as a leader, you're not concerned about you only. You're concerned about yourself and the people that you're leading and the people that are counting on you to create the vision and then to help them remove the obstacles to go ahead and implement that vision. So the faith before proof, integrity, resilience, evolution, which spells fire, is something that everyone who's listening can use in their own lives, in their businesses, in their large organizations, with their teams, and really ask, how are we setting that vision and taking the step with faith before proof? And I love the word faith, because the faith, it implies so many things. For me, Lisa, and you tell me what this means to you, but for me, faith means that I have faith, if in nothing else, depending on what you believe in, faith in yourself, faith in your team, faith in the vision and the mission of your organization. Faith to me has such a beautiful connotation. And it also tells me that faith and fear cannot coexist. We want to challenge everybody who's listening to let us know, how would you apply the FIRE framework? And is there anything else you want to share with us about the framework before we do our lightning round and wrap up our podcast today, Lisa?
I think one of the biggest things is that it doesn't have to be done in order. You don't have to have a grand idea, but you can always bring integrity in straight away. You can reflect on your own resilience and what that looks like for you at any point. And the evolution it's a mindfulness approach. So it's not something like, okay, I need an idea, I need to back myself, let's start here. It's not like that. And it's intentionally not like that. So that at any part of your journey, there is something that you can work on, something that you can grasp, something that you can review and reset and allow your own personal growth in. All four might not be applicable to you, but there will be at least one that is. And I think that
Love
that's the
it.
important takeaway.
You shared with us at the beginning of the podcast that when you were starting out and people thought you were absolutely crazy, that you were a mom, a single mom, head of household. And I just wanted to ask you, how is your offspring?
It's amazing. He's asleep in the next room. So he's 9 now. And yeah, he's amazing. He's this resilient little child. We travel as much as we can. So he's a little world traveler and he's an amazing human.
And also, before we go into a lightning round, I just want to say thank you for being a trailblazer and for showing yourself that your mission and your vision was possible. And here you are creating these beautiful experiences for people who, as you were saying, want to be stimulated, people who want to explore the world, myself included. And I cannot wait to connect with you post our podcast because I want to learn more about the adventures that you assemble and put together for people. And we're going to share your details, of course, so that they can reach out to you. So let's go into a lightning round, which is the fun part of our podcast, which is where I ask you 3 questions and you give me the quick answer. The first one, Lisa, what advice would you give your younger self?
My advice that I would give my younger self would be to
Mm,
drown out the noise. Drown out the noise. Short, simple, just focus on what you believe, what you want. Drown out the
Yay.
noise.
And if you had no limitations, resources, time, money, what will you do? What project will you take on?
Oh, I'd still be doing exactly what I do. I wouldn't even change any of it.
What would you do as a side project? That's something that would be like a dream for you. Like, oh my goodness, I would do not differently from your job, but just something on the side that you would actually do that you haven't done.
It would have to be some sort of foundation around protecting fragile cultures. I mean, that's my true passion. In terms of what that would look like, I have no idea, but it would be around what can we do further to protect languages that are being lost, cultures that are being diminished due to westernization or other pressures, medical, whatever it might be. And how do we preserve that?
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've had so much advice given to me over the years. The best, actually, simplest is usually the best.
Mm.
Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Not everybody will like it, but not everybody is meant to be liked. And if everybody likes you, then you're doing something
I'm
wrong.
back to integrity, right? I love that. Just be yourself because
Exactly.
you are the best at being yourself. So go for it, right? Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. Is
Exactly.
there last words that you want to share with our audience before we say goodbye?
My last words: reflect. Reflect, pause, look at your journey, look at how you're performing, how you're behaving, and just reflect. Are you being truly integral? Are you protecting you? Is there something more you can do to look after you that will not only benefit your people, but your family and your community? They're probably my 2 biggest takeaways. And don't allow your ego to get in the way of your team's growth.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us on the Dr. Ginny Show. Our goal is always to bring you value, to share new perspectives. As you can see, Lisa is in the travel industry and she shared with us her valuable FIRE framework. We're going to leave in the show notes how you can reach Lisa so you can explore where she might be able to take you in the future. In the meantime, I want to say thanks again. Live with purpose, lead with joy. We'll see you at the next episode.